Well, hey guys, how's it going? And welcome back to Overland Garage, and this is part 3 of the Jeep Misfire issue. But it's dark and scary outside, but Jess needs the Jeep tomorrow, and I gotta get this thing fixed. I don't have time to keep working on it, so we're gonna change the injectors, and I'm gonna show you a kind of a little overview of how to do that. It may not be quite in depth because this has just gotta get done, but I'm excited to keep putting out good content for you guys, and I hope you enjoy this little injector swappage video. So thanks for tuning in today. This is Overland Garage. Alright guys, so step one before we do anything is disconnect this battery, because you don't need to get electrocuted or have fuel shooting out everywhere over there, so this just saves the step of having to go into the fuse panel and deal with all that. Just disconnect the battery. Next thing we're going to do is disconnect all of these. Now, I'm going to grab some tape real quick, and I'm going to label all these because you don't want to confuse these and then not be able to know where they came off of when you're putting this back together. And all I did is just take a little tape, and we're going to label every single one of them as we go. That way we don't get all confused and like wires into things where they shouldn't go, and you have other issues. Number 1. And now that we got that out of the way, might as well get all this junk out of the way. So, air box. That's pretty simple. It's just got this little quick release, not so quick release thing. Get out of there! Just had this off. Tuck this stuff out of the way. then there's some 10mm bolts in this bracket here. So there's right here is a throttle cable bracket. We gotta take the throttle cables off themselves. You want to be real careful with these when you're taking these clips off, because they're probably 100 years old and they'll break if you're not careful. So what I like to do is take a little trusty pick and not a screwdriver, because you can get crazy with the screwdriver and break things, but just kind of ease it out of there. Just like that. And same with these clips. If you go too crazy with these, they'll snap them right off. If you're gentle, they come right off. So now we just got a bunch of little 10mm bolts, and you also got to disconnect the fuel line, and I have a quick disconnect tool for that, and I'll show you what that looks like. And that's just the fuel feed. I don't see another one like that, so just this line right here. Now, next thing you're gonna do, if you're gonna get anywhere near this fuel system, you want to throw a set of rags underneath this, and then right here is a little bleed off valve for the fuel injection. And just take the screwdriver, the pick again, and very slowly release the fuel pressure, because you don't want this thing exploding in your face. And there's not a whole lot of pressure in it now, but if I just started this and ran it, there would be about 60 psi in there. You don't want that. So these are the fuel injection quick release tools for a quick disconnect. And there's a little clip here. You pry this off, if it'll come off. And this is just a keeper. This just holds the fuel line from coming disconnected. And then we're gonna go with this size. We'll try this one first. And basically, just slide it in there. I'm gonna grab a little bit of spray and spray that real quick. It's funny when you want something, everybody's used it before you and it's now missing, so I have to go looking for that. But just spray a little penetrating oil in there, and in theory you should be able to just push in on this and it comes disconnected, just like that. Pretty slick when they work. Now we're just going to take all these 10mm bolts out and get this out of the way. Probably want to shove something in the throttle body so you don't get junk all in there too. Look what Derek Barry's doing with Vice Grip Garage today. I want to see another burnout. You can take that Eldorado out for a burnout. Coupe de Ville, Cadillac. That's 70 Cadillac. I want to see another burnout in that. Alright, so in theory, you should be able to just wiggle this around very carefully, get all your harnesses out of the way. And they should just pop right out of there. Should, keyword. Yeah. And like I said before, you want to watch out for the fuel. That's everywhere. Now there's a couple of injectors still stuck in there, but just inspecting these, yeah, these have never been done. And they even say Chrysler on them, so. And you can see this one. Oops, sorry. You can see this one right here. I don't know if you can see it or not, but this O-ring's all smashed, and it's definitely a potential leaking hazard. But now we'll pull the other ones out. We'll take a look and see what's going on. Definitely crusty. It's a little hard to tell if these are bad, but 209,000 miles, good idea to change them. One thing also I want to point out is every single one of these holes that the injector goes in, I'm going to make sure there's not a whole lot of corrosion and stuff in here. If so, the O-rings will rip when you go to put the new injectors in. So I've taken a little bit of time and cleaned these up. I'm also going to put a very tiny bit of grease on the O-ring themselves so they'll slide back in. Like I said before, I'm just putting a touch of grease, not a lot, just a touch on the O-ring itself before I slide them into the fuel rail. Just because they go in easier that way and you're not fighting with them. See, they pop right in when you do that. Just like in the movies. Alright, so I was able to get all those on. I was a little unsure about these plastic clips, but I looked it up and those are supposed to stay on there, so we're gonna leave those alone. But I'm gonna throw a little grease on these other O-rings real quick so we don't have any snaggage when we're putting it back in. And then we'll throw the injector back in. It's not rocket surgery. Just gotta take your time, pay attention to what you're doing, make sure things are clean. That's kind of a big deal because if this is dirty at all, you're just gonna make problems worse for yourself down the road. And no need to take this back apart for no reason if you can help it. Just literally line it all up, shove it in. There it is. So now we're just gonna throw the hardware back all on and plug them back in. Hook the battery back up. She'll be mint. Back on, throw the PCV valve back in, hook the battery up, and we're gonna see what it does. And one more thing before you fire anything up. It's always a good idea. I'm just gonna grab my flashlight. Check all the injector wiring harness. Make sure they're all plugged in good. And check all your connections. Make sure you didn't miss anything, because it's an easy thing to do. You get doing all this and you can miss something. So just check all your connections real good. And these ones are all good, so we're gonna crank it up and see what happens. It's also a good idea to have the keys if you're going to do that. She is running mint. Miss once in a while, but not nearly as bad as it was. I'm not real happy with the Amazon injectors, so I'm going to return them. And I got a set of the old Bosch OEM ones on the way. I should have done that in the first place, but I'm so much happier the way this is running now. This is how they're supposed to run. No misfires. Much, much better. So, it's a week later. I had to put the old injectors back in. I thought that those Amazon injectors were going to be the perfect fit, but they, according to the compatibility chart, they were supposed to work, but every single one of those injectors tested at 0 ohms, and that's no bueno. So I ordered the OEM Bosch Chrysler injectors on the old Evil Bay, and I was able to get those basically 2-day shipping, and I installed all 6 of them, and this thing starts absolutely perfect and runs perfect now. So what did we learn? Number 1, diagnose everything down to the littlest thing, even if you have to probe every single injector harness and put power right to the injector. They should click. Like, that's what they are. They're a solenoid. And every single one of those old injectors did not do that. Number 2, don't overlook the simple stuff. Look for broken wires. Look for simple things. And number 3, when the application requires it, buy OEM parts. And that's what I ended up doing. But I'm going to show you guys real quick that this thing runs as it should, and that we got this misfire squared away. But I thank you guys for joining in, and I hope to see you guys out on the trails. And it's nice to have this bad boy fixed and up and running. So thanks for this week's episode, and this is Overland Garage.